collectors, and future hobby entrepreneurs. Welcome to the first ever episode of Keeping It Bonafide, your go-to podcast for all things hobby, including the business side. I'm your host, Vic Elsey Jr., and today we're going to dive into introducing you to Bonafide Cards and Collectibles and the journey of becoming Bonafide. So, I told a bunch of you about us starting this podcast and what the purpose of it was going to be. Ultimately, we were hoping to provide a channel and a resource for people in all avenues of the hobby to go to and find out answers, get help, and have a community. So whether or not you're just starting out in the hobby and you have no idea how to handle cards, what kind of cards to buy, where to comp them, who to trust, who to do business with, all of those things, we're going to have a subset of episodes in here that are specifically for you. That way you can always come back to the channel and find the information you're looking for. If there's certain things that you can't find on the channel and you'd like us to help provide the answers for you, you can let us know in the comments, send us a message and say, hey, is there any way you can put out a video or an episode about this? I could really use some help. We're happy to do that for you. Just let us know. Also, all of you out there that maybe have been in the hobby your whole life, and you've either A, been flipping cards, or B, are deciding to get into it, and you have no idea how to go about starting the business. Well, you're in luck, because about three and a half years ago, I made that decision myself, and it's been one heck of a journey. There's been a lot of roadblocks and hurdles, ups and downs. It's been fun. It's been terrible. It's just been absolutely insane. So we're going to share that journey with you as far as what we've went through. And I say we, I'm speaking of my wife and myself. She's my partner in crime when it comes to the operation. She has her side of things that she helps with and handles, and I have my side. And then also, once we get you up to speed, we're going to kind of incorporate everything as we continue to grow, let you in on what our vision is and what we're trying to do. And we're going to try our best to just post videos and document everything as we go. So then that way, as we run into new hurdles or new successes, we share those with you. And perhaps you can build your business along the way with us. I'll start out by saying this first episode, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many. Forgive me if it is a shit show and the production level is not great. If I sound like I'm nervous and, shit in the bed here, it's probably because I am. This is my first time ever going live on YouTube like this or doing a podcast. We do live streams on Whatnot. We do breaks and run singles auctions, and I love that. But for some odd reason, the idea of I'm not talking to someone specifically in a chat asking me about cards, it just feels a little awkward. I don't mind being on stage, but this is a little different. So a little backstory on myself. So my name's Vic Elsey Jr. I am your host. I'm going to have special guests that are going to come on. We're going to do interviews with. We're going to do everything we can to bring as much information as possible to you. But about 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, I was in the construction industry. I've got my general contractor's license, and I was doing remodels and new construction, building homes. And I really enjoyed doing that. I was really good at it. And it was really exciting because every project was different. Every customer had their own dreams, their own visions, and it was my job to help bring those to life. And I really thought that I had settled into this is what I was going to do the rest of my life. And I probably could have and would have been just fine. I had the good job. I owned the business. I've got my beautiful wife who I love to death. We have a beautiful daughter who is now 10, getting ready to turn 11. She's a complete angel. We had our 401k, vacations each year, and it just seemed like we had gotten to that American dream that we're taught growing up that we want to go after. And so at that point, I was kind of looking for other opportunities of investments and things to expand. And I've always followed Gary Vee, or not always, but for a long time, I've followed Gary Vee. He's a big, social media marketing guy. And for the longest time, he would randomly talk about sports cards and how he believed that that industry was going to come back strong and it was a potential investment opportunity. And at that time, over the years, I'd heard him say it. I paid no mind to it. I I'm over 40 years old. I don't remember ever being into cards, sports cards, TCG, any cards. I may have as a child back when I played sports because I played every sport growing up, and maybe it was a thing back then, and my parents got me some for a birthday or Christmas, or maybe a friend got some for me for birthday or Christmas. I don't know. But it was that irrelevant of an impact in my life that I don't remember ever really owning any of them. I'm sure I did at some point, but needless to say, that's where my mindset was when it came to cards. So it kind of just went in one ear and out the other. Uh, However, I had hit a point, like I said, about 3.5, 4 years ago, to where what Gary was saying was hitting me a little different, hitting me a little harder. I had some momentum going, and he had mentioned the sports card thing again, that the market was turning and it was going great. And everything he predicted was coming true. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to look into it. So I hit Google and I started looking for card shops. And there's not very many of them in my area. I'm down in Southwest Florida. There is one, I guess, that's a rather large, not large, but normal sized hobby shop in Cape Coral. And then there is a couple in Fort Myers that call themselves card shops, but they're really not. Probably can find more at your local Walmart and Target. And then I found one called East West East West Cards and Collectibles down in Naples, Florida. So that's about an hour south of where I live at. However, I did have projects going on down in Naples. So I decided one day, I said, I'm going to stop in there and I'm going to go look into it and see what's up. So I walked into the shop and I was very fortunate. The shop wasn't super busy that day. It was very nice, super clean. My idea of when I walked in was it felt very presentable, welcoming, like there was so much inventory and it just seemed very nice. I expected the old hole in the wall, like white van with no windows type of feel, smells like mothballs. Like that's what I was thinking when I heard hobby shop or a card shop. So anyways, it wasn't that. And I walked in and went up to the counter, introduced myself to someone that now I know as Tommy, who also happened to be the manager of the place. And then he had his associate, Luke, that was there with him, one of the assistant managers. And I basically just cut to the chase with him. I said, here's the deal. I follow Gary Vee. Gary Vee mentioned that sports cards were an opportunity for an investment. I'm in a position right now where I'm looking to expand my portfolio. I'm looking for something different to do, something unconventional. And I finally decided to pay attention to what he was saying, and I'm here to learn. So tell me what I need to know. I said, I have no clue about anything, the different sets, nothing like that. Point me in the right direction. Tell me what. And so that statement turned into about a 2 to 3 hour conversation with Luke and Tommy. And those two guys are two of the most incredible people that I have ever met. For a complete stranger to walk in and basically say, I know nothing. I want to use this to help build wealth and make money and invest and hold long term. Teach me. And they literally took the opportunity to just drop so much information on me and answer every question I had. It was really an eye opener because my experience with business had been completely different in the past. And obviously, customer service is important in every industry. I mean, that's a strong belief I have. However, in today's world, it's not very common. And the way that they welcomed and treated me kind of got through to me. It hit me a little different. So I was much more receptive to what it is that they were saying at the time. Uh, so that conversation ended with me buying my first box of sports cards. And of course, my first box of sports cards that I ever purchased was a box of Panini Prism from 2020 football. And it was a hobby box. Granted, I might have been able to start somewhere a little bit on the lower end. However, based on everything they had taught me, any chance of real return, the higher chances of return would be in the hobby boxes. That's where the other parallels and more autographed opportunities and all these things were. So, yeah, I purchased a box of 2020 Prism, first off the line, might I add you. And I left there with that box. It was right around $2,000 is what I paid for that box. And I left. All I knew was what I wanted to find in that box was a Joe Burrow rookie autograph. That's what they told me. When you go home and you open this, this is what you want. If you get this, you did exactly what everybody was hoping to do. And so I went home, I sat in my living room and started opening packs of cards. I was sitting there by myself, had no clue really what I was looking at. Was handling them very carefully because obviously the box was expensive, and all I knew was is if it's that expensive, I definitely don't want to mess it up. But didn't know much about it. They hooked me up with some penny savers, some top loaders, and said, "Here, this is what you do." They showed me some things there, but that was about the extent of it. So my wife was in the house, and I think she was in our room, maybe showering or getting dressed to go out or do something, and my daughter was in her room playing. So I was sitting in there alone going through the cards, and I remember them telling me, that the autographs in Prism will be upside down. So as you're going through the stack, you'll see the backside of a card, and generally that's the autograph. Now, granted, I've now learned years later that sometimes cards end up upside down when they're not supposed to be, or for whatever reason, maybe just because it's a hollow versus the base. But in theory, it should be the auto, at least in the Prism boxes. So I don't know how far I'd made it through the box, but I remember as I was opening them, seeing some of the parallels and the designs, and I was thinking they were really cool, but nothing was really like jumping out at me and really grabbing my attention other than I was trying to understand how these little pieces of cardboard, affected people so much and were worth so much money to the point where two guys took 2 or 3 hours out of their day, even though they were getting paid, to answer every question I had. I was like, there's something about this that's different. Well, about halfway through the box, I'm flipping through a stack of cards, and lo and behold, I get about halfway through the pack that I had in my hands, and I get to a card that's upside down. And all I see is that it says Joe Burrow on the back of the card. The first thing that popped in my head was this is exactly what they told me I wanted to find, and that if I found that, then I hit the jackpot. Like, that's it. Like, you success. Congratulations. And at that point, because they had kind of spout off some values of what that could be worth if I did get that, I kind of started shaking, got nervous, and was like, oh my God, it's happening. And I remember looking around like for somebody to like get excited with me. And obviously I was alone, so that didn't happen. So yeah, took the time. I flipped the card over, and yeah, first ever box of football cards I bought. First ever big hit I've ever pulled. Still to this day, the biggest card I've ever pulled. And I have opened ungodly amounts of cards to this point. But yeah, 2020 Prism, first off the line, Joe Burrow rookie auto blue shimmer, numbered to 25. First box of cards I ever bought, first big card I ever pulled. And it was like I was literally shaking. I was freaking out, looking for someone there to support and celebrate with, all alone. I took photos, sent that over. They had given me their cell phone numbers too at that, shared that with me, and told me I could give them a call if I had questions. So I sent the photos to the guys in a group text, and all I said was, I got this. Is this what it was you were telling me about? And the response I got from both of them were the emojis of their heads exploding. That basically answered everything. And so at that point forward, I was hooked. I mean, I then was looking into comps. I went back to the shop. They kind of walked me through, hey, let's look at getting it graded. And were teaching me about what that meant, how that increased the value of cards. And yeah, so a $2,000 box of cards, first ever, turned into a $6,000 pull. And it was going to be a card that I was going to kind of hold forever as that nostalgic value. Hindsight, I kind of wish I would have, because I no longer have possession of that card. We did send it off and get it graded to BGS. Hey there, Salt Bay. How you doing? We sent it off to BGS to get graded. It did come back a 9. Luke had looked it over before we sent it off and told me that he didn't think it was going to get a 10. It had some flaws straight from the manufacturer, which that was a whole nother can of worms for me to accept. Because in my mind, I'm like, I didn't damage the card. I'm like, this is fresh out of the pack. It's brand new. It's got to be a 10. So that was the first time I learned about the fact that the manufacturers, have their own problems with making cards perfect to begin with. So that's what makes 10 so valuable. So anyways, I got a 9 on it and I got a 10 on the auto. So it was a BGS 910. And I did hold it for a long time. And, at one point was saying I was going to hold it forever. It was my first ever pull. But then because of that excitement of opening that box, I decided I wanted to open more. And because of the return that I saw that I was going to get off of that box, it made me investment wise go, I want more. Not remembering the part of being told that the odds of those types of things, and I was told this by Luke and Tommy, are not common. It's not something that happens regularly. But you don't hear that. Not after you hit it. You think you're on top of the world and you're going to hit, cards out of every single box. And that's just not the reality of it. So anyways, bought a bunch of other boxes. I told my wife about it. She thought it was cool. However, she wasn't really into the whole idea of the card thing. I understand why I wasn't either until, I had decided to go down and get the box. But I decided, okay, this is going to be my new thing. I'm going to buy cards. I'm going to hold some long term, let the values grow if it fit and it was the right call. And then I was going to sell the other ones and start flipping the cards and take the initial investment and just constantly buy more, sell them. And when I got it, buy more and sell it and just keep going. So I started an eBay account and started posting cards on there. And my perspective on it is that the reason most people look at it as you can't make money off of ripping cards yourself is because they're looking for the 1, 2, 3, or 4 potential hits in a box, and that's it. Well, you're not going to hit a $6,000 card in every box you buy. And for that matter, you're not going to hit a $100 card in every box you buy. However, hobby boxes come with, most of them, the larger ones come with, 100 cards more, 144, a good amount of cards in there. And there's a good amount of rookies in there. There's a lot of base rookies, not necessarily parallel colors or numbered or autos or memorabilia, but there's rookies in there. And every rookie is worth something, even if it's $1. So the way I saw it is the only way to minimize the loss and to maximize gains would be to sell absolutely everything, that was my strategy. If it was an absolute trash card that nobody was going to buy, then it got stored and set aside for the potential of me going, okay, maybe I can make bundles, I can do whatever. My brain was really trying to wrap itself around the idea of how can I make this profitable. And so I did the eBay thing, got it going, and the wife got involved because it got to the point where it got really busy, and just the sheer number of cards that we were having to pack every day was so much. Now, keep in mind, I was still also working and running a business. And so I would spend my evenings posting cards, taking photos and posting cards. And then I would go to work the next day. And my wife, while I was at work, would be packing cards. And we got to the point where she was packing 20 to 30 cards a day on eBay sales. Now, granted, we're talking some of them were dollar sales, $2 sales, but some of them were more. And that went on for, I'd say, a good year and a half. And then it got to the point where I really was wanting my wife to get more into it with me. And even my daughter, I saw this as something we could do together. I found myself really enjoying cards. It was no longer just the investment. It was also the excitement. Everybody loves ripping cards because you never know what you're going to get. There could be some massive one-of-one card that, nobody's seen yet and nobody else owns. And now you have this card or this piece of property, this piece of art, if you will, that nobody else has. And it just has this weird value of, I don't know how to even describe it. It hits you differently. And so it was bringing joy to me. And I kind of found myself going, well, I want to be able to give this to my daughter and to my wife. I want them to feel the same way. my wife wanted nothing to do with it. So I started venturing outside of sports because I also found out that the TCG market has a lot of value in it as well. So obviously, the first turn was Pokemon. Everybody knows what Pokemon are or who they are. I don't know what's the right way to say that. Um, whether or not it's the cards or the show or T-shirts or whatever, you've seen a kid, know a kid, or you are somebody who's either watched it or owns something that's Pokemon. It is absolutely massive, massive. So yeah, I started buying Pokemon cards. Well, I showed those to my wife, and she thought those were really cool. The art, whatever. And I tried to show them to my daughter, and it was like I had their attention for all of 2 minutes, and then they moved on, and I was still sitting there excited and wanting to do something with cards. So it didn't work whenever I did that. Then I bought some Disney cards because Lorcana came out. It's like, oh, everybody loves Disney. Maybe Disney will get them sucked in. And so I bought, that went on for a couple weeks of buying some Lorcana cards. It was when the first chapter was out. Didn't work either. Didn't lock them in and didn't stick. So there's a shop in Fort Myers called The Ball Game. A guy named Vinny owns it. Really good friend of mine now. Well, really good acquaintance, I guess, business friend, if you will. We don't really hang out, but awesome dude, super helpful as well. He sells shoes and jerseys and all that, but also sells cards. And he was the closest thing to me without having to drive an hour to be able to buy cards. And so I was going into his shop, and he had these mystery packs that he would sell to where cards that he had pulled and, either got them graded or whatever, was putting them in a box, wrapping them up, putting a bunch of them on the wall, and you'd buy them for a flat price. And there was a chase. Obviously some of the cards are worth less, some are worth more. A topic that we'll cover when we get into the little episodes about actually the business side of things and what it means to, resell or do auctions or repacks or breaks. These are all topics that I plan on getting into and covering at least as much as I know. And what I don't know, I'm planning on bringing people in that are more knowledgeable than myself. So he had repacks there that he sold, and I'd got him a couple times. Never hit the actual chase, but got some good cards out of there. And then one day I was in the car with my wife, my daughter and I. We were coming back home, and I wanted to stop in and grab a couple of the mystery packs. And so we pulled in, and the wife said she was going to stay in the car. So I ran in to grab a couple of them, and I had this idea that I was like, maybe if I can get her to taste the excitement of hitting the chase, the one that everybody is going after, that she'll feel what I felt when I got the Joe Burrow, and that will get her locked in. So this particular repack that he had, the chase in that was a Jalen Hurts autograph rookie. And as I sit here and say this, and I'm doing this podcast, hindsight, now that Jalen just won the Super Bowl, I bet you that card's worth a lot more money than it was when we sold it. It was still worth a lot of money whenever we sold it. I think we still sold it for like $300 something. But yeah, it's probably worth way more now. It's funny. I still have photos and documents of everything that we've got along the way. And, one of these days I want to sit down and go through everything and kind of reminisce on the cards that we have had at one time, and what they would be worth now had you never got rid of them. Some bad, some good. So anyways, I went in and I bought 3 of them. Or no, I got 2 of them that day. I bought 2 of the mystery repacks, and I decided I wanted her to get the chase. And so I got into the car, and I told her, I said, I got 2 of these mystery packs. I said, when we get home, I said, you're going to open one with me. And I said, and, see if we can get the chase. She's like, I don't know what I'm looking at or what I'm supposed to. I said, all you need to know is you want to look for the name Jalen Hurts. If you see, it's the only one in there. There's not multiple Jalen Hurts cards. If you see the name Jalen Hurts, you win. That's it. You got the chase. The most valuable card that you could get in there. It's done. She's like, all right. Well, she runs into a store real quick. I stay in the car with the kid. I don't know if it's ever actually been disclosed or if this is when it's being revealed. However, that day I decided to peek, and I peeked into the mystery boxes. I saw that Jalen Hurts was there. So we get home, And we go to the living room. I'm like, all right, let's sit down. Let's do it. Let's do it. And we're sitting in the living room and she's like, I have no clue what I'm looking for. I said, babe, just look for Jalen Hurts. That's it. That's all that matters. And I make sure that I hand her the box that I know Jalen Hurts is there. And in my mind, I'm like, this is it. This has got to be it. And so I'm opening mine up and I look at it and I don't even remember the card I had. This moment was so special to me that the card I hit was completely irrelevant. This was the moment that changed everything for us in our household, and was probably the official starting point of Bonafide. And she opens it, and all I hear is her yell, "Oh my God, I got it." And she starts freaking out. Someone who knew absolutely nothing about sports cards, nothing about Jalen Hurts. All she knew was that was the name she was looking for, and she had it. And she was so excited, so happy. You could see the smile, like she was glowing with excitement and joy. And that moment stuck with me because I was like, wow, this hobby has the ability to give people joy, to change people's lives in multiple ways. Financially, I mean, emotionally, there's just so much that this hobby can bring to you. And then when you dig deeper into it, you realize it's not just football cards. You know, you have football, baseball, soccer, basketball, and then you have the TCG world that has all of that excitement monetarily, but then also the nostalgic value with Disney coming out. I mean, like I said, I'm over 40. I grew up on Disney. And, at first glance, most people won't look at a piece of cardboard and get excited. It's when stories get added to it or memories come along with it. And you start to really realize what that piece of cardboard could mean to you, that it starts having that intrinsic value that gets put on it. With TCG, you have the game side of it. So there's value put on it based on the gameplay. But then also those memories, those nostalgic memories. I think that adds a lot of value to a lot of cards in the collectible market. Another topic to discuss on when you're looking at speculating on what cards to go into of Pokemon or Disney or these other TCGs, and you want to kind of guess, if you will, and think ahead and get ahead of the market. These are things that you can always look into. But that day just changed everything because at that point she was hooked. She got the taste. She tasted it. She got the buzz. And after that, it was all over with. After that, I could not walk in the front door of my house without being asked if I was bringing cards home that day. We could not get my daughter to latch onto it. And still to this day, my daughter really has minimal interest in cards whatsoever. She is a Pokemon addict. That child, her entire bedroom set is Pokemon. Half of her clothes are Pokemon. She has every Pokemon figurine you can think of. If it's a cup, if it's a toothbrush, if it's anything that they put Pokemon on, that child wants it or has it, except for cards. I have no clue what it is about cards. She'll see us opening them and she'll want to come and help, she says, and she'll flip through them, but you can watch as she's flipping through them. The connection to the card hasn't happened yet. She'll flip through them and she might do a couple packs and there'll be boxes left to open and she'll be like, okay, I'm done. And she leaves. So she hasn't got the bug yet, but the wife and I have it. And so, like I said, that day was, I think, the starting point of what ended up becoming now Bonafide Cards and Collectibles. So at that point, she was super into ripping them. She migrated very quickly to Pokemon being something she liked. I tried to get her to lock into Disney because I personally liked Disney at the time more than Pokemon. But she loved Pokemon. She thinks Pokemon cards are cool. She likes the artwork on them. She likes the cards that have the wow factor and the colors, and the cards that look pretty. Which, hey, like I said, the hobby has something for everyone. It doesn't matter if it's TCG or pop culture or sports. There's something within the card and collectible world for everybody. It's just a matter of figuring out what it is to each person that they're interested in. And my wife loves Pokemon cards because of how they look, which is awesome. I don't mind ripping Pokemon with her. She doesn't mind ripping Disney with me or sports. She loves ripping football too. Don't get me wrong. If she had her choice, it would be Pokemon and football, and she would just pick according to her mood that day. But she would be happy with either one of them. So that was the start of what I think became Bonafide Cards and Collectibles. At that point, she was into it. We were ripping. The operation, if you will, started to ramp up with posting. So then I started setting goals on myself of trying to post 20 to 25 cards a day. At this point, we were opening way more cards than we were selling. So even though we were selling 20 to 50 cards a day at times off of eBay, we were still bringing in, 100 to 200 cards a day opening boxes. So we very quickly took over guest bedrooms and started trying to figure out how to organize and, sort, and how should we store them? What do we do? Are these worth keeping? Are these not? We really shouldn't have to keep everything. But because we knew we didn't know that much, we were scared to get rid of anything. Whenever you have one piece of cardboard that sells for $200, it's very hard to throw away any piece of that cardboard, because if you don't know absolutely everything, you might throw something away. Case in point, Disney Lorcana. There is something that can be found in some of the boxes. You're not supposed to, but it's called a discard. That's right. It's called a discard. It is a card that can be black, yellow, and it just says discard across. That's it. Nothing else. I ask you, if you knew nothing about cards and opened a pack of cards that had all of these pretty Disney characters on them as you were flipping through them, and then you found one blank one that said discard on it, what would you do? You would discard it. That's exactly what I did. Hindsight, those are very valuable cards because they're not supposed to end up in the packs. They're supposed to be discarded by the manufacturer. There's something to do with printing and testing it and all of that. And they don't come with instructions. None of the cards come with instructions. So when it comes to sports cards, TCG, pop culture cards, we as a community have to rely on each other. There was not one set of instructions in any box of cards I ever opened that said, hey, here's what all of these cards are. Here's what they're worth. Here's which ones you can just throw away in the trash. Oh, by the way, if you accidentally find one of these in here, don't throw it away. It's worth money. This is all information and knowledge that you only have via the community. So you have to have a community in the hobby to help to teach you things that you don't know. Not to mention, this industry is always evolving. And right now we're in the middle of a huge evolution of the hobby and change that I think is for the better. With, the fanatics and top steals that are going on and all this licensing stuff, and with Disney and Marvel and all this. I mean, there's just so many moving parts, but it's happening way up at the 30,000 foot level. And they're slowly starting to roll out these expectations and rules to hobby shops and stores that are frustrating a lot of people that may have been doing cards for 30 plus years. And I've always done it this way and yada, yada, yada. But the reality is that these companies have one thing in mind. Granted, their reasoning for doing it, you can debate it, you can like it, you can not like it. Yes, the bottom line and profit is always going to be the goal of a business. By the way, we live in a capitalist country. That's what you get in business to do, is to make money. That's what I'm in business to do. Make money, make a living. If they gave us everything for free, then we wouldn't have to worry about making money. But we don't get things for free, so we have to make money. But yeah, when they go out and spend millions and billions of dollars on acquiring companies and licenses, and their intention is to make money. So absolutely. So whenever you take over an industry and you realize that at the ground level, the one that is the face of the industry to the masses, to public, is a mothball smelling, feeling like it's a white van with no windows type of store. You walk in and it's 3 or 4 guys that won't even look up and acknowledge you or talk to you. And you're supposed to walk into this place and feel comfortable asking these people to help you with cards or to answer questions for you. I would be more concerned about making it out of that store than I would be wanting to walk in and ask them questions. So all they're doing is they're expecting the people that are getting their products to have a certain storefront, a certain presentation, if you will. So then that way families and children and women, men of all ages, races, kinds, and creeds can walk in there and feel welcomed, feel comfortable, and be helped. That's how you grow the hobby. It has to feel welcoming. And there was a slight feel in certain parts of the hobby that it was like this closed door private club deal. This is one of the things that kind of lit the fire into what Bonafide is becoming, because I got into it. I'm very much a fast paced mover. I don't take my time with things. I'm a jump first, see if I fly later type person, um, because life is short and you never know. And what's the worst that can happen? I mean, as long as what you're doing isn't going to drastically change and affect or hurt other people around you, there really isn't a risk that isn't appropriate, in my opinion. Everyone has their own way of doing things. Um, but yeah, I want to help to make the hobby what I got to taste in little bits and pieces, because as I was trying to grow the business and deciding I wanted to expand it. So at this point, I decided I wanted to grow the collectibles and grow the card sales. And my goal, yes, on the outside to the world, was I'm building investments. I still got my business. I'm still working my job. I'm still doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm also doing this. So it was a secondary thing. But deep down inside, like I already knew this was my avenue out. This was where this was my freedom ticket. This was something that I loved, that there was no way, shape, or form I could ever view doing anything with these cards as work. It was fun to me. So ultimately, at that point, I got the business name. I set it up officially with the LLC. And, you know, I've done businesses throughout my life. I've had multiples. And so I kind of had some experience from my father teaching me things, and growing up, I knew how to start and run a business. So did everything official, got it all set up. And at that point was like, okay, now when I start seeing certain things, I know what level I've achieved and I know when I can do certain things and make moves. At the same time that all of this was happening, the construction industry at that point was starting to become what you hear about. It's a rough industry. It tends to make people jaded, whether it be the customers or the subcontractors. It's always something. When you're in construction and you own a business, you're pretty much a glorified babysitter, is what you are. And no matter how hard you try, there's always fires to put out, and there's very little appreciation in the end of the day for what you do. So when you're somebody who has a passion and you love making people happy, and ultimately, no matter what you do at the end of the day, most of the time you're going to upset somebody, whether it's the sub or the client. The industry just becomes rough. And it was a very hard time, if you guys think about it, from COVID, you know, to current. We went through some rough times with construction and the economy and things like that. And so there was a lot of factors that played into it that just made it difficult. So I was mentally at my wit's end with that industry, to the point where I was ready to close my business and just walk away from construction. And it had nothing to do with cards at the time. I was just so tired. Um, so I decided that I was going to close the business. I said I had enough income coming with the cards that it didn't really support the household. However, I could get a different job making less money, but it would offset. And as I was doing that, there was another company, somebody that knew me, saw that I was closing down and was going to leave, and reached out to me and asked me to come join their operation. And I told him, I said, I'm leaving construction, you know, because of this, that. And he said, well, I think you feel that way because you didn't have a team. We have the team. We have everything that you were lacking. And I think that that's where your stress and pressure came from. because keep in mind, guys, we weren't a massive construction company. We were, a 3-person operation really with subcontractors. So went and met and had lunch with him, presented the opportunity. I told him that if I did it, what I would need to make. And ultimately, he made the offer, and it was a beautiful package. I couldn't complain. It was good money, good benefits, vacations. Um, Again, another one of the American dreams achieved type situations for me. And so I went there, and initially, yeah, it was perfect. And I was like, wow, okay, so that was what was missing. That was what was wrong. Maybe this is it. And the company was a great company. I still to this day think they're a great company. But after being there for a little under a year, it was about 9 months. It was probably 6 when I started to realize it, but it was 9 when I really made the decision that it had nothing to do with it being my company and not having the team, that it ultimately was the industry, because at the end of the day, I still have to deal with the customers, whether you're doing, a $5,000 job or a $10 million job. You still have clients, you still have subcontractors that you got to babysit. It's still the same beast. It's just more zeros at the end of it. And so I realized, like, no, like this industry is not going to be, I'm not going to live my life happy in this industry. And so I had to go. And so it was a matter of time at that point. And around just under a year mark, some things happened with my wife and her health. And she had to go to the hospital. I had to be there. And we had our daughter at the time, we had goats and we had the dog. Everything kind of all just happened at once. The people I was working for were absolutely amazing. Time off work, no questions asked. Literally, like, my wife got taken to a Tampa hospital, which is about 2 hours north of where I'm at. She got medevaced up there. And he literally drove all the way up there himself. The owner did, to just come see me and just to say, we're here for you. Take as much time as you need. He is like, we're interested in you in the long haul. I don't care if you got to take 6 months off of work, whatever it takes, you focus on your family. It's the most important. And for that, I will forever be grateful to him and to that company. And just out of respect, like, I'm not going to say their name just because, I am thanking them. However, I don't want to pull them into anything just because there's nothing wrong there. But anyways, I'll be forever grateful to him as a person, as a friend, to the company. And again, like I said, it was a perfect situation. Like, there was no reason for me not to be happy. It just did not work for me. So for about 2 weeks, I was out of work. I was still handling things mobily from the laptop, but I was with my wife every day. My parents came and took my daughter to Orlando to keep her. My best friend came up from the Keys to come watch my dog. We actually got rid of our goats, gave them back to the farm that we had got them from, and kind of just changed up the way that we were doing things. But during that 2 weeks, as stressful and as hard as some of those times were because of the condition my wife was in, her and I had some of the best moments being together with no distraction, with no pressure from life, from the world and work and all of those things. And it really made me realize how much that's what really mattered to me, was the good times with people you care and love about, or the people you love and care about. And so when she came home, we were opening cards in the hospital, obviously, because that's what she loves to do and what I love to do. And I told her that I was like, I think I want to just do Bonafide full time. By the way, the name Bonafide Cards and Collectibles already existed. It actually started out Bonafide Sports Collectibles because that was the world that we were mainly in. Selling wise, I hadn't started really selling the Disney and Pokemon yet. I did at this point. But yeah, the name evolved into Bonafide Cards and Collectibles to eliminate the word sports. So I told her, I was like, I think I want to do it full time. We have enough going. I was like, and we're doing it part time. I'm like, imagine if we committed full time, what we could do with it. And she was all on board because that meant I did not have to get up and leave the house every morning and get home at the end of the day and be stressed about clients and subs. And because even when you're in construction, when you come home and when you own a business, and by the way, I can't have a job without treating it like I own it. Like, it's just my mentality. If I work for you and I'm your employee, I treat your company like it's mine. I go home and work on it. Like, that's just my mentality. So she was happy, thinking, well, you don't have to bring that stuff home. You've been happier since you haven't been at work. You know, when you've gone in, you always are just in a bad mood afterwards. It's affecting you, and I want you to be happy. And if you're not happy there, I don't want you there. Completely supportive wife, by the way. If you can get one, find one. They're worth it. You can't have mine though. So anyways, that talk was had, and yeah, she supported the idea. And so at that point, mentally, I was like, I'm leaving. Now, how do I leave? Well, that is a little bit of a situation there. But anyways, what it boiled down to basically was that it was time for me to pull out of the construction industry and the company and go full time with the cards. And so I basically went and turned in company vehicles and belongings, and gave them the letter of resignation, and just basically said, I need to be home with my family. And they had said I could be there, but I just didn't like operating in that manner, because even though they said that it didn't matter, you always feel like you owe somebody even when they say you don't. And it was just adding more and more to me. So I pulled away, went full time with Bonafide, out of the gloom and dark now, guys. Sorry. Went down that road. That kind of brought me into a place, because that situation with my wife was a rough one. But anyways, went full time with Bonafide at that point. So at this point, it was let's go full speed ahead. And so we started pushing the cards. We were ripping, loading up the cards on eBay. And then at that point, really wanted to be a breaker, because I was doing online breaks with some people called the Break Club that I met through the card shop at East West. And it was so much fun. I'm like, these guys literally sit there and they open cards for hours. They get to chase these big chases all day long. And guess what? They're not paying to do it. They're getting paid to do it. And so I realized, I'm like, well, I can open cards for other people. I get to taste the excitement of the chase and the hit, but I don't have to buy all the boxes to get it. And then at the same time, I get to give somebody else that excitement and that joy. So it's like a double win for a breaker. People don't realize that, but most people that are breaking cards, I can promise you, they're not doing it because they're getting rich. The margins in breaking are not big. They can be, I'm sure, if you have either certain connections or distributions, or certain breakers that go straight to manufacturers and have these great deals, but not all of us can get that. So those margins don't exist for the masses. That's kind of like the whole idea of become a real estate agent to be rich, but you don't realize that the ones that actually make money are far few and in between. Most people break cards because they love opening cards. They love chasing those hits. And the best way to get the ability to pull a massive card without making yourself homeless from spending all your money is open cards for other people. So I decided I needed to figure out how to live stream. Never done it before. I'd only been in watching and paid and been in breaks. So I looked at TikTok, I looked at Whatnot, looked at Fanatics, looked at all these places, and man, there was some hurdles. Like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, there's going to be specific episodes about this, because there's just so much behind what it takes to actually be a live streamer. And people don't get me wrong. And a lot of people do it. You can pop your phone up and you can live stream, and that's fine. That's just not how I think. And there's far more into it than just that. And if you look at a lot of the operations on any of these platforms, you can tell the ones that have a much bigger setup going on and have the special effects and, the better video imaging and better whatever you want to call it, the graphics, all that stuff. But anyways, I ended up landing with Whatnot and submitted the application to live stream on there. And it took about a week or whatever, which, by the way, there's not as many hoops to jump through as there used to be. It seems as if though most anybody now can live stream on there. So if you wanted to do it, it's not too hard. Again, we'll have some stuff where I go over that and just kind of walk people through setting that kind of stuff up. So yeah, started the live streaming channel on Whatnot, Bonafide Cards and Collectibles. We stream multiple times a week now. And we run singles auctions on there, and I got to start dabbling with breaking. FYI, just because you set up a live streaming channel and you go live and you've got boxes of cards to open, doesn't mean anyone's going to come and watch. I can tell you there's been countless hours of me sitting on a live stream talking to myself. Ironically, it was nerve-wracking thinking about going live on here for a podcast with no one to talk to, yet I remember sitting for hours on Whatnot talking to myself because you never know when someone's going to stop in. So you're always trying to kind of just talk like you're talking to somebody, but nobody's there. Get into that more along the way. So yeah, that was the nutshell of the journey of how Bonafide Cards and Collectibles came about. But all along the way, all of these hurdles that we ran into, it was almost like I was met with so many tight lips of just nobody wanted to give away too much. Everybody saw everybody as competition. And I don't want to tell you how to do this. I had to figure it out. You figure it out. And I just didn't understand that because my introduction to the hobby from East West Cards and Collectibles in Naples, Florida, by Luke and by Tommy was a warm, welcoming, I'll tell you whatever you need to know. But then the moment I left that store and started meeting new people, and I'd go to a card show or I'm online and I'm talking, people are chatting, it was almost like you were met with like this confusion. If you asked them some sort of question, like, what are you asking me for? Like, go figure it out on your own. I'm not telling you that. So with that being said, as I got the brand going and got the Whatnot channel, there's more into that Whatnot channel and how we ventured into Lorcana and Pokemon and how it's all going now. And there's going to be, points and episodes that we go into that. But ultimately, I realized that within the hobby, there is what I consider the core community, the real hobby enthusiasts, the ones that love it. And the ones that want nothing more than for more people to know about it, to enjoy it, and to see it the way that they see it. And if you meet those people, because you can tell their passion and their excitement, and you're met with complete willingness to answer anything you ask them. It doesn't matter. You can ask them questions that basically, you're giving me your recipe for success. Can you answer this question? And without hesitation, they will, because they'll be the first ones to tell you there's plenty of room in this hobby for everyone. And it does nothing but good if more people join the hobby. If you don't help people understand the hobby and you don't teach them and guide them, then the hobby doesn't grow, which means your business doesn't grow, which means the community doesn't grow, which means that the manufacturers don't grow, which means we don't get more exciting cards, or, there's just, it's a snowball effect one way or the other. And right now, unfortunately, there is a wave of what I would consider toxic, negative, and quite frankly, downright snakes in the hobby. And they are really painting the hobby in a bad light. And I want to make sure that the people out there know that that is not what the hobby is. That is not what the true enthusiasts see this as. And so for those of you out there that may see all of this hype going on now, because it's almost hard to miss it. I went 40 years of my life overlooking cards. And I have a strong feeling that it's hard for you to be in this world now, at least in America, in any type of somewhat city. Maybe if you're in some cornfield somewhere, you don't hear about cards. I don't know. But if you're in any type of general city, it's really hard to live a life and not know about cards. If you watch TV or you have any type of social group, somebody is doing something within the hobby these days. Um, what was that? Oh, sorry, Salt. I just looked over and saw that you were commenting there. Um, but yeah, I want to make sure that we provide that welcoming feeling and that we weed out and we just drown out the negativity. You see it all over the internet. You see it all the time with, the scams or the frauds, um, live streamers taking advantage of people. It's run rampant because unfortunately you can't create or have anything good without somebody trying to find a way to take advantage of it. And so as long as you're aware of that when you're getting into the hobby and you're not naive to the fact that those people are out there, they exist. If you expect to enter into anything and there not be some form of, you know, snake or fraud going on in there, you'd be confused. You'd be mistaken, because there isn't one that exists that's not in there. You could name any industry and it exists because that's just the world we live in, unfortunately. So it's the job of the good ones to stand up and be the voice and speak for the hobby or for whatever industry and say the truth of what it really is. Make sure that people see it in the true light. And so the hobby brought so much joy to my life. It brought my wife and I closer. Something that was a hobby for me and something that I did, something that when I first started, I never, ever in a million years would have thought this is going to be something that my wife and I do together forever. Like, I never would have thought that. You're talking pieces of cardboard with sports guys on it. Like, you don't picture a husband and wife being into that together. But it's turned into now on any given night, date nights, whatever. Like, it's something that both of us without hesitation would be stoked to do together and we look forward to do together. We plan to do together on a regular basis. And it's brought us so close and we've had moments of excitement. We connect on this level that most men and women didn't a lot because I was this, play sports and competitive and fishing and hunting and this, and, she wants to lay on the beach and she's relaxing and chill. And so, like, obviously we loved each other and we were super happy, but there was always that one little piece that we were looking for, that how do we really get deeply connected? And holy hell, cards did it. And I think that the hobby can bring all kinds of joy to everybody. It's just a matter of finding what it is in the hobby that fits you. And so we are going to build a community. We are building a community that is going to be open arms to everybody. We're going to embrace every lane in the hobby, whether it's TCG or whether it's sports or whether it's pop culture. Um, you know, we want to make sure that if somebody is entering the hobby, or if you're in the hobby and you have a friend coming into the hobby, and they don't know where to go and they ask you, or even you are trying to learn more in the hobby, or you want to start a business, anything, that there's one place that you can go, that when you're surrounded by that community, it's safe, that you're not amongst thieves, you're not amongst snakes, that you're amongst people that will happily answer your questions. They will help you with whatever you need with a smile on their face and be glad to do so. I've been super fortunate to be a part of communities like that as I've got into the hobby and as I've continued. I have ran into one or two negative snakes, thieves, those types of people. But I've been very fortunate that the communities I've been a part of have not been that way. And I see it happening. I've seen people, get wrecked and upset. and want to leave the hobby or give it up because of them running into those people and getting taken advantage of. And quite frankly, it pisses me off. So Bonafide Cards and Collectibles has decided, didn't really decide, it just kind of was a vision of creating this Bonafide collector community that will allow a place for anyone to come, share your knowledge, be a part of the community, give back to the community, and help others either coming in or that are already in. There's enough room in this hobby for everyone. Whether you want to be a streamer, you want to flip cards, you just want to collect cards, you want to actually compete in TCG for Lorcana or Pokemon or Magic, like there is something everywhere and there's plenty of room for everyone. And I want to make sure everyone knows that. So, like I said, I've been fortunate. I've got good people in a good community, and I want to put that through a megaphone. I've been speaking to some of the people in our community that are kind of specialists in their own areas, and we're creating this community that's going to have every category covered: football, soccer, Pokemon, Disney, baseball, basketball, pop culture, you name it. And we're going to have a little category of that specialty covered. So you could always come and hang out with people like-minded, into the same things that you are, share information, share knowledge, have fun, trade cards, sell cards, do whatever you want to do, and know that you're in a spot that is being overlooked by people who understand what the hobby really is, and that we're keeping an eye out for those snakes, and that it's zero tolerance, that we're not going to allow those people to come in and mess up what's so awesome about this hobby. So that it is what Bonafide Cards and Collectibles are doing. That's what's created the Bonafide collector community. If you go to bonafidecards.com, at the bottom of the homepage, you can put your email in and sign up to be a Bonafide collector. Really, all that is a way for us to identify people that have either A, interacted with us via the podcast, whatnot, Instagram, wherever it is, and be able to offer you guys special pricing and promotions. Our website, we are a BCW authorized dealer now. Another story we'll get into, but any supplies you guys need, I promise you, as a Bonafide collector, you'll get better pricing than anywhere else. If there's something you don't see on a website, because I haven't got it added up there yet, there's a lot going on, I can get it for you, and I promise you it'll be best price you can get, best service you can get. That's a promise I can make. And then obviously, we're on Instagram as well, bonafide.cards. Please go follow us over there. We just started growing that community not too long ago, but I'm trying my best to get our name out there so we can find all of these people that are into the hobby, or the people who don't know about it, and share it with them. I'm going to do my best to get these episodes out, as many as possible. Getting this one out was kind of a big hump. It was, like I said, it was quite nerve-wracking to do the first one and to go live. Like, it's funny because the thought of being live right now is not as bad as it was before I pressed go live, but here we are. So yeah, that I think is about it. Salt Bay is in the chat. I don't know if anybody else had came by, stopped in or whatnot, or is watching this video, but Salt Bay is one of the people in one of the communities that I'm a part of. He's a great guy. Appreciate you coming and hanging out on here, Salt. And I know, and I appreciate your presence. I actually reached out to him and asked him to come support the live, because there was times of near panic attacks of like, what am I doing? But anyways, yeah, guys, my name is Vic. Bonafide Cards and Collectibles, the Bonafide collector community, and now officially the podcast, Keeping It Bonafide. It's all about just being real and genuine. That's what Bonafide means, by the way, guys. For those of you who don't know what Bonafide means, because I've had more people ask me about Bonafide since I've created the company with the name Bonafide than ever before. But Bonafide actually stands for genuine, for real. And that's what we're all about. It's not always cupcakes and rainbows. It's not all wins whenever you're buying and ripping cards or selling cards. There's losses involved. Um, but it's always real. And this podcast was supposed to go out a couple weeks ago. Quite frankly, the only reason it didn't was because I was nervous as hell. That's just keeping it real. But I knew that I have a community of people that supported me, and they kind of had an idea of what it was I could bring and I had to offer, and have encouraged me to do it. It's going to take a little bit for me to get traction and to really get this organized and structured the way that I'm seeing it in my head. But I will get it there. And I figured, what better way to tell everybody who watches or is looking to come join that we are real and genuine over here, and to let you see it, let you see me be nervous, let you see the fact that we're not some full stage production yet, and that we're just a small company with a big vision, an amazing community and friends in the hobby. And we want to blast it through a microphone, and hopefully we can share the hobby with as many people as possible. But quite frankly, I feel like if I know I can just give it to one person, give one person what it was that the hobby gave me and my wife, I would be ecstatic. That's genuinely all I care about. So that's episode 1, the journey of becoming Bonafide. There's going to be mini series in here. I'm going to get a map laid out somehow, guys. But there'll be little mini series dedicated to you guys just getting into the hobby of all the little how-tos. And then all of you entrepreneurs, there'll be a series of like, hey, you ready to come hear some details about where Bonafide's lost money, or where we succeeded, or how do you do this? How do you set this up? How do you get this account? Should I do this? Should I do that? I'm going to lay it all on the table, guys. I'm going to tell you every success and failure that I've had. And believe me, there's been a lot of failures. If I can tell you something and stop you from losing money, I plan on telling you. Trust me. The quicker I can get you up to speed to where I'm at, the quicker we can have 2 or 3 brains working together, instead of you're still back here trying to figure out something I've already solved. That makes no sense to me. So that's going to be there. And then there's just going to be this main overall thing going, where I'm going to continue to keep you guys in the loop as Bonafide Cards and Collectibles grows and expands. Right now, we are on Instagram, like I said, bonafide.cards. We are the verified account. We don't have a lot of followers yet because I suck at posting. So on social media, I got to get better. But I want the community to grow there. That's where we're going to use to make all of our announcements. We're going to roll out all of our promotions. That's where we share all of the events or any shows that we're going to do. So you really want to be following us on Instagram to get the information first. All the new inventory, if it's something cool or special or unique, it's going there first. So if you want to see it before it gets, offered to everybody else in the world, Instagram is where you're going to see it. I know, I get it. Instagram is everyone in the world, but it's not going to get ran on a live auction. It's not going to get posted on a website for sale before it goes on Instagram. Also, bonafidecards.com. We will have sealed wax products up there available. We definitely have supplies, top loaders, penny savers, team bags, one touches, bins, binders. And if it's not there, message us and tell us we got it. We can get it. And we will make sure that we have everything that anyone needs supply-wise in the hobby. We want to be the people that you go to for supplies. And I promise you, I will make sure, it might take some time to tweak it, but I will provide the best pricing in the hobby for everyone. We also offer consignment. If you guys just have a bunch of cards that you don't have the time to photograph and to get posted and to deal with, we can do that. Super low rates, because my goal is to have as much inventory as possible available to clients. So when they come and shop, they don't have to go look elsewhere. So it benefits me a lot to have the additional inventory. So I'm not trying to knock people over the head with consignment rates. We also offer bulk grading. We do submit to PSA, SGC, and BGS and CGC. So if that's something that you need, you can send us a message on the website and talk to us about that. We're happy to help you through that process. We're also going to put up videos to help teach people how to submit themselves if they want to. There's always benefits to going through a bulk grader. However, some people like to do stuff themselves. That's how I ended up becoming a bulk grader. Was I was submitting through someone and I just wanted to do it myself. So I did. Now I'm doing it for others. And then on Whatnot, Bonafide Cards and Collectibles, we run live shows every week, multiple days a week. I do a lot of what I call breakfast with Bonafide now, where we're on sometime before lunchtime. We jump on and we might do some Disney Lorcana breaks or run some singles auctions. Every Sunday I do football. That's a given. It just made sense. Why not? That's, football Sunday. So yeah, NFL cards, singles. We don't really do any football breaks right now. It is something that I want to get into. It's just a very hard thing to get into whenever you don't have access to good pricing and or you don't really have the exact clientele to buy into breaks. There's going to be a lot more details about that shared on that particular series because it is not as glorified as people think. So we'll go into that. But yeah, Whatnot, Bonafide Cards and Collectibles, bonafidecards.com. Please, please, please. I know there's probably going to be some of you out there, you keyboard warriors, that want to talk crap. You want to try to knock me down. I'm going to do my best to ignore you and not let you bother me. Chances are you might get under my skin, but I'll be all right. I've been through worse. But do me a favor, for those of you who do care, that do want to see the hobby grow, or you do have interest in growing the hobby, joining the hobby, or you're just a kind person that wants to watch the journey of someone who's trying to figure some stuff out, and it's going to be funny because it's going to be some shit show stuff. Trust me. Give us a like and a subscribe. Give us some feedback, guys. If there's any specific episodes that you want us to make, any specific people you want to see if I can get them on here to interview you, I promise you I can be one persistent dude. And I will blow people up until I can get them to come join the podcast. So honestly, you guys will get to do a lot of the steering of the ship here at Keeping It Bonafide. I've got a plan of the info I want to put out, but I need you guys to contribute as much as possible. Shoot us messages, let us know what it is you want to see. And when I get given guidance from someone that needs or wants something, it happens so much faster than if I'm trying to do it, because I've got a brain that makes me go down rabbit holes and distracts me and slows me down more than it helps. But when somebody asks for something or gives a direction, I can make things happen quick. So that's it, guys. That was episode 1. Thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed me rambling for however long I've been on here now, at hour and 15 minutes. That's not too bad, I guess, right? That's not too bad. I appreciate that, Salt. Not too bad on the time limit. I had planned on the long form episodes running about an hour-ish. So, well, I will get another episode up soon, guys. Until then, like I said, please like, subscribe, give us your feedback in the comments. We appreciate you guys. Until next time, guys, remember when you're out there, keep it bonafide.